That is the use of these WNBA referees pretty much altering games, changing the outcome of games, and something has to be done in regards to that matter. The WNBA referees has definitely been playing a major role in who's winning games and who's losing games.
If this incident is true, it's a major issue that not only impacts Caitlin Clark, but also shakes the foundation of fairness in the WNBA. Singling out a player or targeting them unfairly goes against the spirit of sports and damages the league's reputation. Caitlin Clark, being a phenomenal talent, has already proven her worth, but if referees are deliberately targeting her, it's a blatant act of injustice that could harm her career and credibility. The WNBA must address this situation promptly and conduct a thorough investigation. Ignoring such allegations could erode the trust of fans, players, and stakeholders, leaving a stain on the league's integrity. Transparency and accountability are crucial now more than ever to ensure that every player is treated fairly and that the league upholds its values.
She got landing zone fouled at least 5 times that weren't called. She got the Kennedy Carter one that was called as a normal foul on the day. The eye poke, even if you believe it wasn't intentional, it's still a flagrant one. The Alyssa Thomas shoulder barge to the face, there were a lot of blatant flaggers that weren't called.
Caitlin Clark's so-called special whistle isn't the kind any player would want. It's the kind that remains silent when fairness demands it to sound. Opponents seem to get away with questionable plays, while Clark is left frustrated, wondering what she did to deserve this treatment. This silence isn't just confusing, it's maddening for fans who watch her being unfairly treated game after game. They're left scratching their heads, yelling at their screens, and questioning how such blatant inconsistencies can exist in professional basketball. If these whistles, or lack thereof, are part of a larger pattern, it raises serious questions about the league's officiating standards and fairness.
We watched the WNBA season this year, and we know that Caitlin Clark's whistle was a strange one. We know that she had a very, very strange whistle, and we know that the reality of the situation is that she got flagrantly fouled 5 or 6 times throughout the year. It should have been 10.
That game against Chicago was a perfect example of what Caitlin Clark has been enduring all season. She drove to the basket with her signature determination, the kind of focus that makes fans hold their breath because they know she's about to pull off something spectacular. Then, out of nowhere, bam, she's on the floor, taken down hard. It wasn't just a physical play. It was a moment that left everyone stunned. And the worst part? The silence. No whistle. No foul. Just Clark picking herself up while fans and teammates looked on in disbelief. It's moments like these that make you question whether the officiating is holding her to a different standard than everyone else. Clip 4. The crowd holds its breath, expecting a whistle, but nothing. No call. It's like the refs suddenly went blind or forgot their whistles. The silence in the arena is deafening. But then, the same kind of play happens in the NBA, and it's a whole different ballgame. Whistles blow, flags fly, and maybe even an ejection or two. The contrast couldn't be more glaring. It's night and day. And that leaves everyone wondering, what's going on with this double standard? Why is the treatment so different for women's basketball compared to the men's game? It's a question that's impossible to ignore, especially when the stakes are as high as they are for players like Caitlin Clark.
About Seattle, and all of a sudden, we're pretty close. This has been as close as it's been all second quarter long, 44-2.
Let's dive into exactly what's been happening in both leagues, and trust me, the difference is shocking. In the NBA, players are well protected. Hard fouls are immediately called out, and dangerous plays are shut down quickly. But in the WNBA, it's like the rules are a whole different set, and Caitlin Clark is stuck in the middle of it all. Let's talk about flagrant fouls, the ones that make you cringe just watching, where you think, ouch, that's gotta hurt. Clark has been on the receiving end of some brutal hits, and yet the refs? They're acting like they didn't even see it. It's like they've gone blind to what's happening right in front of them. The treatment Clark is getting raises serious questions about fairness and consistency between the leagues.
But now is a funny one because we're now seeing the same WNBA media that were happy. Well, not even, I'm not gonna say happy, but like, we're like, oh, these are normal fouls. This is just normal basketball. Now, when it happens in the NBA, making it a bigger deal. And this is where kind of the problem is that it was one rule for Caitlin and one rule for everybody else.
Picture this. Caitlin Clark is driving to the hoop, determined to score. You can see the fire in her eyes, the kind that says, "Try and stop me." Then out of nowhere, wham, she's knocked to the ground, hit so hard that you can almost feel it through the screen. Now, you'd think that would be an automatic flagrant, right? I mean, that's what the rule book says. Unnecessary or excessive contact. That's a flagrant foul. But somehow, in this case, no whistle blows. No flagrant called. It's a clear violation of the rules, but the refs act like they didn't see a thing. It leaves you wondering how this can happen when the same type of hit would have surely been called in any other league.
There's also a stat that came out a few weeks ago that said Caitlin Clark received 17% of the WNBA's flagrant fouls this season, and 80% of those flagrant fouls were committed by the Chicago Sky against Caitlin Clark.
Hold on to your seats, because what happened next will blow your mind. The refs? They just shrugged it off. No whistle, no call, nothing. It was as if they were watching a completely different game. Can you believe it? Caitlin Clark is on the court, probably seeing stars from that hit, yet the game just keeps going on like nothing happened. The crowd is in disbelief, their voices rising in frustration, while Clark struggles to recover. It's one of those moments where you can't help but wonder, how can the officials miss something so obvious? It's not just a missed call. It's a total disregard for the safety and fairness that the game is supposed to uphold.
Here's Clark. Her 29 points gets tripped up. The Fever really stretched out this one in the second half as we look at Diamond DeShields and Caitlin Clark. And Diamond...
And here's the kicker. This isn't a one-time thing. We're not talking about just one missed call. We're talking about a whole series of wild plays. It's like Caitlin Clark has a target on her back, and the refs are just handing out free shots to anyone who wants to take one. Remember that game against the Sky? Clark is driving to the basket, looking to make her move, and bam! Diamond DeShields hits her so hard, you'd think they were in a boxing ring, not on a basketball court. The impact was brutal, and once again, no flagrant, no call. Just more of the same. Clark taking the hits while the game continues like nothing's wrong. How many more of these blatant fouls is she supposed to endure before someone steps up?
Calls like this should be made, should be reviewed. People should know right off the bat, it shouldn't be the first round of the playoff that players think that they can still do this kind of thing to Caitlin Clark, to Angel Reese. When Alyssa Smith basically choke slammed Angel Reese, that should have been nipped in the bud so fast.
And the refs? They're just standing there like they're waiting for a bus or something. No call, nothing. It's absolutely crazy. But wait, it gets even worse. You know Diana Bonner, right? Well, she pulled a move on Clark that will have you questioning if you're watching basketball or WWE. Picture this. Clark is going up for a three-pointer in a crucial playoff game. The crowd is on their feet, the tension is high, and just as she's about to release the shot, boom. Bonner undercuts her. It's a move that should have been called immediately, but once again, nothing. Clark is left in disbelief. And the crowd? They're in shock. This isn't just a missed call. It's a blatant act that endangers a player's safety, and it's gone unpunished.
This one that we see right here that I believe should have been a flagrant foul was not called that. So there have been cheap shots, there have been hard fouls, there have been other plays that haven't even been called flagrant fouls. But when you have the face of your league getting nearly 20% of all flagrant fouls called against her, that is an issue. And that's not just an issue that the players have to work out. That is from top down. That goes to the commissioner level. Like, that is the level that needs to control these kinds of things.
We're talking about a clear flagrant foul, the kind of play that could seriously injure a player or even end a career. And yet, the refs? They're acting like they left their whistles at home. You might be thinking, come on, it can't be that bad. Maybe they're just letting them play. But here's the thing, this isn't just physical basketball, it's dangerous. We're talking about plays that could result in serious injury, and it's happening right in front of everyone. It's not just the fans who are calling for action. Players, coaches, even commentators are speaking up, urging for stricter rules and more consistent officiating. The message is clear. The league needs to take action before something more serious happens. This isn't just a game anymore. It's about player safety.
A shot clock violation. And now Bonner and Clark get into it. Oh, yeah.
This situation has sparked a huge conversation, and the stakes are high. What happens in the WNBA right now goes beyond just a few missed calls or questionable officiating. It's a test for the future of the league. Fans, players, and coaches alike are demanding change, and it's not just about protecting Caitlin Clark anymore. It's about protecting the integrity of the game itself. When players are being targeted and the refs are failing to make the necessary calls, it hurts not only those players but also the reputation of the WNBA as a whole. The constant missed calls, especially during moments where players like Clark are clearly being put in danger, are damaging the product the league is offering to fans. Casual fans are tuning out, and hardcore fans are getting frustrated. This is a problem that reaches far beyond officiating. It's about what message the league is sending to the next generation of players, to the fans who are supporting them, and to the entire basketball community. The idea that star players, who bring excitement and attention to the game, aren't being protected in the same way male counterparts are, only deepens the problem. The WNBA has to step up and ensure that its stars are treated with the same respect and protection that athletes in other leagues, like the NBA, receive. Will the WNBA take action to correct these problems, or will it continue down a path that risks the future of the league? The ball's in their court now, and the world is watching. Change is needed to ensure that the WNBA's product is something worth watching, fair, safe, and exciting for everyone. Fans are speaking up, and it's time for the league to listen. What do you think the next step should be?